Hopefully, here we go. We're live. Hello, hello. How are you, my friend?
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. I'm here with Rachel Jones. How are you doing, Rachel?
I'm good, thank you, Patrick. How are you?
I'm all right, not too bad. Let me do my
Good.
little introduction. So, hey, everyone, welcome to BuzzStart's episode 4 of I'm a Role Model. BuzzStart exists to change the status quo of education, recruitment, and workplace cultures by really upskilling and empowering 1 million women as digital entrepreneur leaders for the future workforce. So, a little bit of context, it's the year 2020, but the digital skills gender gap is ever widening, and the barriers that women encounter in the workplace have barely shifted in 10 years. And in some places, they've actually gotten worse. BuzzStart was born to change the status quo by fixing broken systems, removing the barriers that women are experiencing, providing mentorship, role models, and helping women to secure the leadership positions that they deserve, giving them the confidence to lead, ideate, and inspire future generations. So that's why we exist. I'm Patrick Cutcliffe. I'm the founder of BuzzStart and BuzzStart Academy, and I'm delighted to share with you all today that we have a very special guest in Rachel Jones, and Rachel's going to share her story with us today. So I'm very excited. Very welcome, Rachel.
Oh, thank you so much.
So let me give you a grandiose introduction now. Is that okay?
Yeah, go on then.
Awesome. Okay. So this came from your lovely, beautiful friend, Susie, who was our lovely role model last week. And she's some lovely stuff to say about you here. So I'm going to read it out, right? Rachel is something of a businesswoman legend. She has run Fit and Fun Nursery, which is an exemplar in the nursery industry in Cornwall, and is a consultant for the council. She was brought in as a peer mentor to support others in the childcare sector to overcome challenges and set new strategies. Rachel is hugely given of her time for worthy causes, having run charity fundraisers, networking groups, and more. She also works in a project called Young Women Will Achieve, which helps disadvantaged young women with babies to gain education and training. All this while supporting her mum, who has dementia, her husband, who's had severe PTSD through his career, her daughter that was bullied at school and had to change schools, her son with a life-threatening allergy, supporting her brother through multiple suicide attempts, and losing her dad, running a home, becoming a granny, and managing 30 plus staff, and now a pandemic. Rachel, you're incredible. And she goes on to say, and she's an inspiration and one of the loveliest human beings you could ever meet. And I would have to vouch with her there, because we've just had like a 15-minute chat before this call, and you're absolutely lovely person. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing your life's journey with us today. And I have no doubt that this is going to help a lot of women. We talked about this before. We actually came on live and about what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I have no doubt as we go forward and as we start to get that strategy and put the content out there, that when women watch these videos and stuff, it will really, really help them. So thank you so much. So first question, Rachel.
Go then.
You were a miracle baby. Please tell me more.
I was a miracle child that I reminded my family many a time. So I'm obviously, as we shared earlier, past 50 now, and 50 years ago it was very different when you were trying to conceive, and mum and dad sadly really struggled to conceive. After 10 years of trying, decided that they wanted to adopt, and they actually wanted to adopt 2 boys and a girl. So they adopted my 2 brothers, and then I was that fraction of a chance baby. So along I came, and I happened to be a girl, so it was perfect. So yeah, I'm the miracle child.
It worked out. It worked. You're a miracle. You're a walking miracle, Rachel. So Rachel, I've touched a little bit on your personal story there in the introduction. Would you mind sharing your story with us, your backstory, your personal story?
So I am from Cornwall, but I was brought up in Surrey when my parents moved to Surrey with their work. And at the age of 6, they put me into gymnastics. Why gymnastics, I don't know, but actually it was a good choice and I fell in love with it. And gymnastics, actually, the training from the age of 6 to 18 was my life. I trained every morning, every evening, weekends, holidays, up until 18, there was no social life. I ran 5 miles before school. Homework went out the window. I remember my brothers, who were very academic, being made to do their homework, and I had like this leave pass because I was training. So it was very much my life, up until the age of 18. but I actually had to retire through injury. But it was quite tough, actually, from having a childhood where you were so committed to a sport where you had to watch your diet, and you trained to the point that, you know, your hands would blister and rip, and I'd put hot tea bags on to dry it as quickly as I could so I could get back on the bars and train. You know, I lived with cold compresses. It was just part of life, and you just picked up yourself up and got on with it. So leaving that sport and being 18, and it was a sort of a choice of going to college, not really knowing what I wanted to do. So I went to college. I think I resat my GCSEs to get better grades, or then O levels. I've sort of been bored, I would say, through my career, until I returned to Cornwall when I was 22. But one skill I did have, obviously, was gymnastics, and I was a qualified coach, and I knew that I wanted to bring some physical activities for children and parents here in Cornwall. But at 22, I didn't really have the confidence or the knowledge or know-how how to do it. So got married, had 2 gorgeous children, and then sadly my dad got hit with cancer, and Dad was a massive inspiration in my life. And just before he passed away, we talked about, you know, using what I had to start a business, and he was a real supporter and a champion of anything I wanted to do. So when he went, I did sort of feel, well, you know, what have I got to lose? So I actually decided I'm going to start a business, but I had no capital to, you know, invest in a business. I had no skills. I really didn't know where to start, but I just knew it was something I wanted to do. So I remember going to the bank and asking for a bank loan, and I had no credibility. You know, I had no business plan. I had no cash flow forecast. I had this amazing vision.
Just a miracle.
Yeah, just a miracle, and I could talk the talk. So obviously all the doors were shut. So my thought was, well, let's sell our family home, move my children, my dogs, and my cat, and my husband in with my mum, and give it a go. And to be honest, that's what we did. Luckily, Steve was in the fire service. We had security. We had a roof over our head, and that was the start of Fit and Fun Kids. And that grew very quickly. I had a transit van full of equipment. I would drive it around Cornwall, and before long, I had a contract delivering activity classes for 300 families. We had 20 children's party packages, and I then moved into the childcare side, so offering support creches. And that's when I moved really fully into childcare. And 20 years later, I've got a thriving day nursery that's multi-award winning and Ofsted rated outstanding. But we diversified as well. So something I do that's different to the normal childcare providers, we deliver outreach support creches. So I work with those furthest from the workplace, vulnerable groups, young mums with, you know, young teenage mums with babies, and they access education, and we have on-site childcare. So it removes barriers for people, you know, to go on to further education and employment. So that was the start of my career. And then along the way, I've tried other sectors. So I've tried to sort of branch out into children's clothing. I fell in love with a coffee house that I knew from a child that I used to go with my dad. And we always had a dream of having it one day. So I did buy it, and I ran it for 4 years, and then sold that. And just as the business grew and my networks grew, I ended up working, I set up Leading Women UK, which we ran for 7 years, which we'll probably talk about a little bit more in a moment. But that was about supporting women with business startup, business growth, mentoring, and particularly focusing on inspiring young women who, you know, needed that support with role models. And it was great bringing them together. And then finally, that led to me doing some work for the government and piloting the first enterprise advisor network down here in Cornwall, which again was successful and is now up and running. And I'm still focusing on Fit and Fun Kids. So my life's never dull. It's quite full.
it sure is, never ending.
No,
Crazy.
no.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Next question, Rachel. You touched about on your childhood and gymnastics, and you know, it's a very tough sport, right? And it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of resilience, and all of these kind of soft human skills. Would you say that these early life skills worked some way towards your adulthood and who you've become, and really helped you in your adult life?
Yeah, it certainly shaped, I think, the person I am, and that's clearly very ambitious. But but it also taught me that you don't get anywhere without a lot of hard work,
Mm.
and you will take the knocks along the way. But it is about having that resilience to pick yourself up and carry on. And I think it's given me a lot of skills, particularly whether it's personally or in business, that you hit tough times. That resilience. I
Yeah.
think at a young age is a good stage to learn. So yeah, it's definitely helped me along the way.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, it's a big thing today. When you look at any jobs, employment, future workforce, any of this terminology, soft skills is a big thing. So
Yeah,
anyone that's listening out there doesn't know that, you really want to look into soft skills and figure out
yeah,
what employers are looking for specifically.
yeah,
Because you will have attributes that you don't realize are really strong points, that you're really amazing at, and you just don't realize it. But they are becoming now mainstream need in the future workforce. So it's really
massively.
good to be aware
Mhm.
of those. But Rachel,
Yeah.
you talked about your dad, and he was an amazing man and father
Mm.
who really cared deeply for his daughter, and he
Mm.
instilled faith in you and guided you to try things, to fall down, to learn, and get back up. He
Yeah.
was, as you said, your champion. So, can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit more about your dad's positive influence and his love and mindset, and how it helped to shape you as a great woman that you are today?
Yeah, I think most girls sort of see their dads as their hero, and I
Mm.
know I'm particularly biased. But I know through childcare that attachment at an early age with at least one person in your lifetime is what a child needs. And I learned that here, well, just before I was 50. But Dad was one of these people that he was a very firm but fair person, and his people skills were second to none. So he was very well loved by many.
Mm.
It was the sort of person that was a very good listener. So when you had a problem, you could go and talk to him, and he
Yeah,
would really help you find the solution. And being his daughter, he would champion everything that I did. He did
yeah,
give me an easy ride. He was coaching me behind the scenes in gymnastics, and he was advising me through life as fathers do. But I think it was that unconditional love and that safety and security that he gave me to be whoever I wanted to be.
brilliant.
He allowed me to explore that. So it's, yeah, I lost him when I was 30, but
Right.
that still was far too early for me.
Sure. Yeah. Any
Mm.
time's too early, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, because I know it's very, very close to your own heart. It's your dad. So thank you for sharing that. Starting a business is damn hard, as we've discussed already.
Yeah.
I know it, you know it. And especially when you've no resources, you've no money,
No,
you've no network. As you said, you go into a bank, you've no credibility, you're
no,
a
no,
nobody, right? You've
no.
none of the attributes that can really make it a little bit easier just to get, somewhere, anywhere.
Yeah.
Can you please share your experience of your first time, in business, the barriers that you encountered, how you overcome them, and what were the most important skills that helped you to literally get
Yeah.
started and get going?
Okay. I think I knew very quickly when I couldn't get any investment to start my business, and I probably did it the most riskiest way. I think back now, and I think that's horrific, and I would never advise anyone to do that. Um, but like I said, I learned very quickly, and within a year of starting my business, I knew the areas I needed to work on. So the only way I could do it was run the business by day, be a mum to two very young children at the time, and go to college in the evening.
Wow.
So I got myself into college on lots of different courses, so business development, then it was leadership and management, and then it was coaching and mentoring at each stage as my business grew and I grew within that business.
Yeah.
And then that really gave me the underpinning skills that I needed to be successful in business. Then massively, the last 10 years in Cornwall, particularly, there's such a wealth of support for business startups and business growth that wasn't there 20 years ago when I started. So having those connections, whether it's support and development or business connections or people that you can go to for that advice and guidance, and
Hmm.
having that strong network around you. And to be honest, I think within 3 years of me starting my business, I had all of that together. And with the underpinning knowledge of then the learning that I didn't have when I started, has really helped me sort of spread my wings,
Hmm.
give myself greater challenges, focus still on the key business and not get too carried away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it reined me in, but it gave me the right skills and the right people to work with.
Brilliant.
Mm.
Yeah, I know, like, where I'm from here in Derry, it's an amazing place and everything, but it's very high unemployment, highest in the UK and Ireland. We don't have those kind of opportunities, that network. And there are things that happen here and people try really hard and they do great things. But I don't think we ever met, but I did a lot of Google training in Truro in, is it Cider Healy's farm? Is that the right?
Yes,
Did I get that right? Yeah, Healy Cider. That was close. But I did a lot of Google training there, and the community spirit was amazing, and I got a really good reaction from the crowd there, and it was great, and had a great laugh, and it was such a beautiful place and everything as well.
They were the first people I went to when lockdown hit, and obviously as a day nursery, my key business, we stayed open, and we didn't have hand sanitizer because it was just off the shelves. And I drove over there and bought 5 liters of alcohol that we could use, for our hands at the nursery. So, but that's who we went to. So again, it's those connections in Cornwall.
I just find this so warm and so welcoming, and such nice people, but that real nice network, and everybody knew everyone as well, and it was just a really nice thing. But Rachel, and I'll be back. Tell me this. You were in Downing Street. You were invited to Downing Street. Tell me about that.
The first time I was invited to Downing Street was I won my first award in London, and I think I'd only been in business for about 3 years. And it's about 2 years later, it was Cherie Blair's 50th birthday, and she invited those within the charities that she supported, and the childcare sector was one of them. And I'd won Entrepreneur of the Year nationally, so I had this invitation. So it was amazing to sort of be invited to Downing Street and look at all the rooms. I was a bit in awe. But secondly, actually, it was completely different. We were invited by Lord Young to start consulting on what they created the Enterprise Advisor Network. So we went, and there was about 50 of us in this room, and it was a small room, and I'm not the tallest of people, and I realized very quickly that if I wanted to make myself known, I had to position myself, and I had to get something to get Lord Young's attention so I could have my say, because you imagine everyone wanted to have their say. And I found this glittery pink pen in my bag, which I thought, I'm just going to pick it up and sort of wave it around to catch his, so he would look at me and ask, let me speak. And that's when it was all I had at the time that I could use. And I thought, it got his attention. He made a joke about it. And I told him my vision for what I felt was an Enterprise Advisor Network for Cornwall. And then from that, 7 of us were invited to the Treasury. Again, it was to have that conversation, but just my way. I put my plan, and I emailed it over to the guys the night before, so I knew I could be the first person in there to talk about what I felt we could do, and we got the funding, and we ran a very successful pilot, and here we are in Cornwall now with the Enterprise Advisor Network, really successful. So I probably don't do things by the book, but you just find ways. But that was my experience with Downing Street and the Treasury.
You know what? It's incredible, because hearing stories like this and hearing how people actually do things in the real world, where you're taught stuff in books and college and theoretical stuff and all this, but in the real world, none of that stuff really, some of it matters and exists. Yes, of course it does, but there's a lot of stuff not in there that's real, like waving a pink sparkly pen to get it's led to this and this and this.
It definitely academic. It has a massive value, but for some, they aren't naturally academic. And this is when I work with young people. It's letting them know that, okay, you might not be naturally academic, but you have other valuable attributes, and it's about using them to your advantage in the right way. Again, I wasn't pushed in education because I was training in gymnastics, and rightly or wrongly, my mum and dad's vision for me was grow up, be a secretary and get married one day and have children. They had no aspiration, because I was just Rachel that did gymnastics, and that was my time. But actually I was hugely ambitious, and I should have been allowed to have a proper education. And I meant I had to work for it, when I was in my 30s, really. But that we all have qualities, and I hate for young people to feel that because they might not be academically gifted that they've got no opportunity in the future. And that's why I love about like the Enterprise Advisor Network. You get people from business, or when we did the Leading Women UK, I'd have 30 business women in a room with young 14, 16-year-old
Rachel.
teenagers, to share their stories and share the reality of what opportunities are out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, again, it's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't
Yeah.
agree with the education system and how it's set up. It doesn't fit a lot of people. This sitting in a rows facing the front, repeat after me. The curriculum never changes. All the attributes and skills that you do have inherently as a human being are never really drawn out of you, because it's not the teacher's fault. They don't have the resource. The system set up the standards. All of this kind of stuff works against the teachers who want to do this stuff, but they can't. But
No.
ultimately what happens is, people who are of a really good memory system pass the tests because they're good
Yeah.
at remembering stuff. And
Yeah.
the rest of us who have anxiety and depression or all these different things that prevent us from being able to pay attention or focus or whatever, like anxiety really hit me at school. I was staring out a window all the time, daydreaming and, terrified if I'd been asked a question. And that had a massive impact on me and learning in school. And like yourself, it wasn't in my 30s until I started figuring out, my own kind of qualities and skills, and then honing them and practicing them and putting them into, but if I had been recognized as a young child and I had those skills, and then they were kind of developed a bit further and my confidence and stuff like that, then my whole pathway could have been a very different one. But it is what it is, and hopefully now we can help other people. And the world is changing rapidly now. Education, everything, recruitment processes, it's all up in the air now with COVID as well. I think it's just an open book. We can do. It's an opportunity for anyone now to do anything and prove that the system doesn't work. Let's recreate it for the future, and let's start doing things differently. So that's where I'm at, and that's why I'm doing this with Buzzstart and everything else, and hopefully it will help some people and figure out their pathway and their purpose and help their mindset as well. But amazing, Rachel. So it's clear that you have a huge heart, and you're extremely kind and supportive with all your time, your energy, and resource in helping others. Again, it's about those soft human skills. How important do you think they are for any woman today who's especially seeking employment right now? I know we just touched on this slightly, but that resilience, empathy, compassion, all of those kind of things.
Yeah, I think they're huge. For women in employment and women, in leadership, whether they're leadership within the business or they're leaders of their own business. I think women are natural nurturing humans. It does come very easily to us. I think empathy's there, being humble is there. But actually, I've learned from the predominantly a female workforce that I've employed for 20 years that actually those softer attributes are critical in developing teams and growing a successful business. Because like I said, through my own life experience, life happens, and you can be thrown challenges and curveballs at any time, and so can everybody else. And it's realizing what are those additional skills your team bring, what is it your customers are asking of you. And I think as a woman, having that softer approach, I think, is a lot more effective than being very rigid and very closed.
Could not agree more. I couldn't have put it any better myself. And again, it's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I believe the future of leadership should largely be driven by women because of those skills that they inherently have. Literally, the future of work is crying out for these skill sets now. A lot of these soft skills are really, really important, and I just think you're 100% right. And that's the way it's going to go. I guarantee it. Coming back to your family and your daughter, your daughter was bullied horribly at school, and you had to move her to a private school, and you said you were lucky to be in a financial situation to do that at the time and stuff. And she said she went on to set up her own charity and help others to overcome bullying, and today runs her own business. Tell me, how much of an influence has your life and your learning and your wisdom had on your daughter's journey, and what of those teachings can you share with other women to really help them with their mindset and their well-being and their kind of pathway?
Yeah, I'm immensely proud of Amy. So at 14, she was severely bullied, and we know very only full well that bullying at any age is not acceptable, but it's there and it's happening.
Mm.
And it completely broke Amy, and to be honest, it broke us as a family, because it's very difficult to protect your child when they're not actually with you. And as we know, bullying doesn't stop at the school gates. Through social media, it was never ending. We're very fortunate financially. We were able to move her quickly and put her into a private school, which together with us helped sort of rebuild her confidence and self-esteem. But I think as that developed, what also developed Amy was her natural sort of instinct. And I've always been very solution based. If you're hit by a challenge, rather than let that challenge beat you, find a solution. And I install that in my children. Well, I say my children, they're young adults now. But Amy actually was part of that sort of recovery from bullying, and she was quite, as young people are, quite good digitally, and she put together a video to music of her story, and of course put it on social media, and it went viral. And what built her confidence was the feedback she was getting from parents, from children, but children that were bullying. And she came back and she said, "Mum, these children are saying that they don't want to be like this. They're drawn into this crowd, and they want to be seen as cool, and they realize this isn't cool." So with the support again of my connections in business, we had a lot of support. We had, an organization put a free website together. We had guys helping us social media with training. We had people doing leaflets and like these wristbands and everything that she was sending out to people. Amazing. And she then went into schools and started. Her ambition was to change the mindset of the bullies, and she would share her story, and she would talk to other young people, and she would explain that actually it's cooler to be nice than it is to be unkind. It was only short-lived. She was 14. She was going on to her GCSEs, and we had to call a halt to it then, because that was policy. But she did. She's grown up to a lovely young woman, and literally, bless her, she signed the lease on her first business at 23, just as we went into lockdown. So she officially opened 3 weeks ago.
Wow!
And but what's so funny? She always said, because I said, "You are a mini me now," and she's like, when she was growing up, she always saying, "I'll never be like you. You work too many hours. I'll never be that person." And she is. But so proud. But I think any woman in business, we have two lives. We have our work head on, and we have our family head on. Like I said, whether that's mother, daughter, sister, friend, employer, you're all to everyone, and it's important that you give people that time, and you help and advise them, and you connect them with the right people, or signpost them to the right people, but also look after yourself. You must look after your own well-being as well.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing, and best to Amy with everything she does.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to quote you here now, and we talked about this earlier as well. Life can be like a roller coaster of stress and achievement, and it's never a straight line. So as you and I both know, this is one of the greatest lessons in life, but it takes years of action, trying, knocks, barriers, and real life experience. So what wisdom advice would you share with your younger self if somehow we had a superpower to plant just one thought or idea into our younger self subconscious brains to help us through the toughest times ahead?
I think take the pressure off yourself, and what we are our worst, the worst criticism is what we do to ourselves. I think it's take a step back, take a breath. I'm a real list person. I love writing lists, and I know through all our training we're taught these different formulas to use. But I love a pen and a piece of paper, and I write everything down that's going well. I write everything down that's tough, and then I give myself a pat on the back for the things that have gone well, and say, "Do you know what? I haven't done a bad job." I look at the things that are tough and find the solutions. If there is a solution, there's not, cross them off. If it's people I was taught, dismiss your dementors. It's really, I think it's about being realistic with yourself, and we're not superhuman. We are just human. Yes. And also, like I said, it's about having that network around you and sharing stories and listening to others, and not being frightened to ask for advice, and give yourself permission that actually sometimes we get it wrong. And like Dad always taught me, it's better to try and fail than never to try at all. And, you only fail if you don't learn from it. So I think, like I say, it's just don't beat yourself up all the time, because
Yeah.
I think we put immense pressure on ourselves to be everything.
Yeah, we do. I do it. Like I was doing it today.
Mm.
So we all do it. As you say,
Yeah,
we're all human. Everybody
yeah,
does it. But you give yourself that little bit of freedom. It's
yeah.
amazing too how simple a task it is to take a piece of pen and paper and write stuff down. But most of us don't do it.
Mm.
And it's something I think you have to get into the habit of doing as well, because it's just like anything. Your brain has to become habitual. You have to rewire it in. But
Yeah,
when you do that, putting down those little micro wins, those gratitude things, and then identifying problems, and then scoping how big of a problem is this really, or am I just magnifying it in my head?
exactly.
And by
Yeah,
taking it out of your head and putting it on paper, well, you're actually taking away all of its energy, right? And you're putting
you
it
are.
out there, and then
Yeah,
you're actually dealing with it, and then you're going, well, actually, it doesn't. It's not that big. It's not that big of a deal. I can deal with this, and I need to do it more.
yeah.
So, so maybe after this, I'll go and start writing stuff down. But yeah, I'm terrible for keeping stuff in my head. But
Yeah.
in your bio, you identified a lot of positives in your life today. What advice can you give to anyone that's struggling with their mindset on how to go easier on themselves? Like just what you've said, what kind of advice would you give them to actually do that, be kinder to themselves, and know that their life does and it will get better?
Yeah, I think I'm a firm believer. We know what keeps us awake at night, but it's what makes you or helps you sleep at night. And that can be
Love it.
anything from, finding your own way to relax, whether, mindfulness, whether it's yoga, whether it's going for a walk and enjoying the fresh air and the view, spending time with family, whatever it is that works for you.
Yeah.
For me also, I really love being a peer mentor. I love supporting others. I love any charity work that I can help with. And it's that makes me sleep at night.
Amazing.
I think, it's looking, what you enjoy. Work can't all be about, working hard all the time. There has to be the relaxation side of it, or you're going to be poorly, or you're going to burn out,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be any use to anyone, that yourself, your business, your customers, or your family. So it is, again, like I said, it's just, you have to take that time out. And to be honest, it took me years actually to do that. People used to give me this advice, and I was sort of like, foot to the
Me
pedal,
too.
and I kept going. Yeah, but I think it comes with experience, but certainly, that would be my advice.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Again, I do myself. But like, I think it's that balance, isn't it? It's very difficult if you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, or you have very little resource, very little money. You literally have to put everything you have if
You
you
do.
really want to bring that to life. And especially if you don't have the location or the network, or you really have to put in that time
Yeah.
and that effort. But you
Yeah.
also have to find those things that you said, that balance. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 5 hours in your day. You have to shut down and do it. Like I go to the gym now, like I go 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning, 3 times a week. And it's great because it gives me the entire day, but it also means I'm not thinking about the gym all day. I'll have to go to the gym
Yeah.
after work.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it's gone. I've done
Yeah.
it. Now I can
Yeah.
get on with everything else, but it really boosts me and gives me the energy and stuff as
Yeah.
well.
And
But
I think the pandemic, as tragic as it's been, it has allowed people to press that pause button and reflect on life, and
massively.
realize, we've definitely learned new ways of working to what we were doing in January, February, and March. But I think people are beginning to value that life balance and value life more. So
100%.
it can be achieved, and it is, like I said, it's a case of, if you can't find that solution yourself, then don't be frightened to ask someone to help you. Have that network around you that you can go to, listen to things like this. I've listened to so many webinars over the last 6 months. The knowledge is out there and support mechanisms are out
Yeah,
there,
it's
but
all there.
it's important for your own well-being.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to finish out this amazing interview with another Rachel Jones quote.
Okay.
Here I am now, the other side of 50, and I have to say, having loved and hated the last 20 years in business, I would not change a thing.
No.
This is a powerful statement, Rachel, and
Yeah.
I'm a true believer that we all have a purpose in life and inherent qualities that we're tasked to self-learn our purpose, develop our pathway, and put our best qualities to action for good, like you do. It's my hope for millions of women through Buzzstart and our talent program. Do you have your own personal ideology of life?
Yeah, I think, it's something that I've learned after many years, and it is, be kind to yourself.
Mm,
I think, be humble, be true to yourself, be someone that you like. Don't try to be something you're not. And you know, I've always said, surround yourself with the right people. I found having, you know, I call it my network of three, which is, you know, someone who's, you know, below you that you can encourage and nurture, someone beside you that's going to push you and challenge you, and someone above you that's going to inspire you and mentor you. And even those three people in your life are key. But just be kind to yourself. You know, it's a tough world, and you know, it's only getting harder. But that's probably my main advice. But yeah, I have a few other quotes out there, as you found.
Yeah. They're
But
great. They're great.
yeah.
That's incredible. Listen, Rachel, thank you so much for your time today,
Oh,
because
thank you.
we know you're extremely busy and you're always giving your time to others, and you do deserve some back for yourself. You know, you obviously do. So you know, and often, like you're saying, look after yourself. Please do look after yourself too,
Thank you, and you.
because you absolutely deserve it. But thank you so much for today.
Thank
I've
you,
no doubt
Patrick.
this will help a lot of people. So
Good.
it's over now from us, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show, and take care. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye, bye, bye.
Bye bye.